Hey guys, welcome to Acharya. Let's talk about interviewers' psychology. Yes, it's not about interviewee but interviewers' psychology. It's an interesting and important topic to understand, especially when you're preparing for an interview and it is lined up in the days or the weeks to come. The objective of this video is to provide you with insights on the subject so that you can be better prepared to drive a professional conversation during your interviews. But before we get into it, let me tell you why it is so important for you to understand about the interviewer's psychology. Well, it is because the outcome of your interview is not only dependent on your own skills or experiences or educational background or the attractiveness of your own profile or even for that matter your performance during the interview, but also on a number of factors that are beyond your control. And that is why it is so important to understand the interviewer's psychology, and that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. First of all, it is important to remember that interviewers are also human beings. They have their own unique personalities, their values, their biases. Just like anyone else, they also have pre-existing beliefs or biases about certain things such as gender, race, age, or social class. This can influence the way they conduct interviews and evaluate candidates. So when you get negative feedback from the recruiter about your performance in the interview, you have to accept that with a pinch of salt, because it may not just be your own performance issues. There could also be factors beyond your own control, and that's the subject of this video. So what are some of those biases you may be encountering silently? Number one, confirmation bias. This means that the interviewer may look for information that confirms their pre-existing beliefs about a candidate. For example, if an interviewer believes that women are not as competent as men, they may ask more difficult questions to female candidates than to their male counterparts. Or if it is the other way around, he or she may ask difficult questions to male candidates. Let's take another example. If the interviewer believes that a degree from a premier college is a must to enter into the company, he or she may focus on asking difficult questions to candidates with modest education backgrounds. Now, my point is that not all interviewers are biased, but in general, interviewers should try to remain open-minded and not make assumptions about candidates based on the factors beyond their control. Well, that's an ideal state, but we know that ideal state is a fiction. Number two, halo effect. That's another kind of a bias. It occurs when interviewers allow their overall positive impression of a candidate to influence their evaluation of his specific traits or abilities. For instance, if an interviewer finds a candidate to be friendly and engaging, they may assume that the candidate is also highly intelligent or competent, even if there is no evidence to support this. Let me give you another example. If a candidate is extremely tall and well-groomed and presentable, the interviewer may assume that the candidate is extremely intelligent, even if there is no evidence to support this. Funny, isn't it? But that happens. The point that I'm trying to make here is that interviewers at times digress from the core subject of evaluating candidates on specific job-related criteria, and that is not good. It should be avoided at any cost. That brings me to the third kind of bias, and it's called stereotyping. This is another, very prevalent kind of bias that can influence interviewers' behavior. Interviewer may hold stereotypes about certain groups of people based on factors like race, gender, or social class. This can lead to unfair treatment of certain candidates and missed opportunities for the organization. Now, to avoid this, interviewers should be aware of their biases and avoid making assumptions about candidates based on irrelevant factors. So now you understand that while you have prepared so well for the interview, you worked really hard day and night, There are factors you can't do much about. They're beyond your control. Let me also talk about something which is very less known. It's called primacy and recency effect. Do you know about that? I guess not. Let me tell you about it. Now, interviewers may be more likely to remember the first or the last candidate they interviewed, which can bias their overall evaluation of candidates. This should be avoided at any cost, and interviewers should take detailed notes and compare candidates based on a specific job-related criteria. There's another important factor that comes into play. It's called stress and anxiety. It can also affect interviewers' behavior. For example, an interviewer may ask more difficult questions or be more critical of a candidate's response. I remember one of my interviews almost a decade back. It was a pretty tough interview for me. Every answer I gave, I received a standard response. I don't think I agree with that. It was pretty annoying for me beyond a point, and even though I did not lose my cool, I felt bad when I was disrespected on a couple of occasions. The interview lasted for 30 minutes and I came out feeling not so good about it. I couldn't make it and I knew about it. I know there was something wrong with the interviewer. Perhaps he was stressed out. So if you have a tough round of interview, you should not feel bad about it. That's what my experience says to me. To manage stress and anxiety, interviewers, I think, should take breaks between interviews, practice relaxation techniques, and focus on evaluating candidates based on objective criteria. So what can you do with this information? If you are an aspiring candidate, if you're applying for jobs, understanding interviewer psychology and getting insights to it can help you prepare better for a professional conversation. It's also like setting expectations with you that whatever happens during the interview, not everything is going to be your fault or your performance issues. Take it easy. For interviewers, I have a small suggestion. If you have certain biases, it's important that you should be aware of your biases and manage your stress and anxiety so that you can make more objective evaluation of candidates and help your organization with the best fit for the job. Now, in the end, all of us have to understand that interviewing is a human process, and it is important to approach it with empathy, self-awareness, and a commitment to fairness and objectivity. With this, I've come to the end of the video. I hope this video was insightful and enriching for all of you. I would love to hear your feedback, your comments, your thoughts. If you're new to this channel, please do subscribe, share, and like. Take care. Bye-bye.